So finally get to play a game of the men who would be kings. Going to be playing French Foreign Legion versus Tuareg, and give you a little overview of the forces and the table setup and the scenario rules. Okay, this scenario is called To the Last Bullet, and it involves a French Foreign Legion force in the centre of the table here. Now, they are outnumbered in points for this scenario, so they only have 18 points worth here. The way I've achieved that is that this would have been my 24-point force, which is the usual number of points that you play. So I've simply subtracted their buffs, as it were. They were fierce and elite, which was 2 points per unit extra. So I've taken that off, so I've taken 6 points off. So they're down to 18 points, and they are basically just regular infantry now. Now, they are being attacked by a 24-point force of Tuareg here on the edge of this table. I'll go into their unit specifics in a moment, but essentially the French Foreign Legion have to fall back to a farmstead in the rules. So I've got this Middle Eastern looking house here. This is capable of holding 1 unit. There's not much other scenery on the table. I've deliberately left it quite bare. There's a well here which I'm counting as impassable terrain, but it also acts as soft cover. And then I have a wall here which is also soft cover. So the building is hard cover, the well is impassable and soft cover, and the wall is soft cover, and the palm trees are there just for decorative effect, and the rest of the table is just flat desert. The table edge actually ends here. This is the edge of 1 mat, so there are 2 mats on the table, so I'm just playing on 1 6 by 4 mat. And basically, to begin to explain the rules a little bit, each unit on both sides has a leader, and you roll at the beginning of the game to determine the leader's traits and their leadership value as well. So there are 2 values. Well, there were two dice rolls. Basically, that can affect the game quite significantly, and it does mean sometimes makes it very difficult for one side or the other to win the game. If their dice rolling at the beginning is quite unlucky. I've also found, I might as well say this at the beginning as well, the rules, I really like the rules. I've tried them out for the first time now in a sort of rehearsal for this. Really like them, but it does strike me that firing is brutal. Firing is absolutely brutal. The other thing as well about the rules is that with all these traits, especially as you're learning the game, it does make it quite hard to remember to apply all the rules, because there's not just the basic rules, there are rules for each leadership trait as well, and so on, plus the buffs. In this particular case, neither side has got any special abilities or anything other than what comes with their sort of unit description, unit type description. But it is possible, I would imagine, to forget rules in the sort of game, because there's quite a lot to remember. But anyway, each unit has a leader. So there's an NCO leader there, and he is a bag of nerves. Now that means that the first time that his unit gets pinned, there's a possibility that he just runs away. So you can see immediately how, not not throwing good dice at the beginning of the game can influence the flow of the game. To compensate for that, though, he did get a good leadership value. So he only needs to roll 5 or above for his unit to obey orders, perform actions and so on. Then you've got an officer figure there. He is a damn fine fellow, which sounds pretty good, but it has no effect on the game whatsoever. And he's got a leadership value of 6. So what you're doing basically is to perform any action other than ones that are free. You have to roll 2 dice and score above that value on the 2 dice. And then here, got an even worse roll for the NCO there with his arm raised. He is an idiot, which means that every time he tries to order his unit, there's a 1 in 6 possibility that the enemy will choose the action for him. So pretty catastrophic there for the French. Basically, as I think I said, they have to fall back, and the game is over once they've been entirely eliminated, or entirely eliminated the Tuareg, or 5 rounds have gone by when they haven't taken any casualties, which is pretty, well, impossible, I would imagine, from the previous game I played. So over here, basically, it's a little bit harder to distinguish the leaders with these Tuaregs. So I've described the rider on the white horse for each unit as the leader. This one is a sporting umpire, which means that his unit won't fire on a unit that is already pinned. If they have an option, they will select another target. The leader of this unit is the chap with the light blue turban with his arm raised, and he is a damn fine fellow. So again, same trait and no effect on the game. This leader on the white horse here is up and at them, which means that he will attack, automatically attack if he's able to. So it's a bit like sort of knights in Middle Ages games, they sometimes attack on impulse. Then the leader here is the chap with the white turban. Now he's got a very useful trait, which is destined for greatness, which means he gets a free move. So he gets 2 moves each, 2 actions each turn, and they can't be the same action, so he can't repeat the same action, but it is very, he gets a free one and then he rolls for the second one to see if he can perform that as well. And the way I've been playing that is that because there are certain actions that you can do for free anyway, he often in the game I played before to rehearse, I gave him 2 free actions, the one free one that he gets with his trait and the other free one that he gets with his unit type. So I'm not sure if I was playing that correctly, but it seemed the right way to interpret the rule. Again, white turbaned figure there is another leader, and what is he? He is ugly, which is his misfortune, but he doesn't affect his game in any way. And there you have another leader on a white horse, and he is brave, which means, oh no, hang on, yeah, sorry, he is the up and at them. We got this right? Yeah, he is the up and at them, which means that he gets 2 free moves. No, sorry, he has to attack if he can, and this guy is brave, which means that he can remove a pin at the beginning of his action without having to rally it off. Okay, so I think... Oh yeah, and the attackers get first go, so they move first each turn. In some scenarios it can switch. So yeah, I think we're ready to go, and I'll explain a bit more about the game mechanism as we go on. Okay, now just for the beginning of the game, I'll show you how activations happen and so on, but I won't do this for the entirety of the game, otherwise there'd be too much footage. So Tuareg get to move first, or get to activate first, so we're going to start with this unit on the end here, and basically I want them to move forward as fast as they can, so there's an activation called at the double. Now this unit has a leadership value of 7, so on 2 dice I have to roll 7 or above in order to get them to move at the double. And I roll 7 luckily, so they can move forward. Normal movement rate, which is 12 inches, plus a d6 dice roll, so they are, oh that's brilliant, they're going to move forward 18 inches. Right, so there they are, moved up. They've moved 18 inches. Now cavalry, I think it's all cavalry, but certainly the irregular cavalry, which these are allowed to attack having moved at the double. Other units can't, but as you can see, they weren't within striking distance of that unit of French Foreign Legion anyway. And the other thing I might as well say at this moment is that all the units can see 360 degrees and fire 360 degrees, but regular infantry, which the French Foreign Legion are, can form close order. They're not allowed to start the game in close order, so they're not in close order at the moment. So you would just order them into close order, and they would have to roll for that to see if they could do it, and you just push the figures all together. And when they are in close order, they can only fire forward in the 180 degree arc, so they can't fire off behind them or anything like that. It does make them an easier target to hit, but at short range it gives them a more effective fire. Short range for regular infantry who are armed with modern rifles would be 12 inches or below. So it's a bit of a risky thing to do, to put them in close order, because with cavalry attacking them, especially as they can attack at the double order, does mean that they could actually crash into the infantry before they've got a shot off at them. There's no such thing as sort of reaction fire as they charge in. Right, anyway, let's move on to the next unit now, which is this one here, and yeah, he doesn't have any trait that is going to influence the game, but he's got a leadership value of 6+, so I'm going to order him to move forward at the double as well. So infantry have so he needs to roll 6+ first of all, and he does easily. So infantry have a movement rate of 6 inches, so he's going to move 6 inches plus a d6, 4, so he's going to move forward 10 inches. Right, there they are, moved up. So what I'm going to do is try and order a couple of units now to move up at the double. It's just going to be the same thing again, so you get the idea of how that works. and then when I get to the chap who has the 2 moves, I'll show you the dice roll for that. Right, there we are then. So all the Tuareg units pass their activation rolls. I've given this unit here their free move, so they moved at the double and managed to move 10 inches forward. Now they get their actual activation, so I'm going to order them to, as I'm interpreting move and at the double as 2 separate actions, I think they are allowed to move as well. So I'm going to roll to see if they can also move forward, which would be a further 6 inches. And he hasn't got a very good leadership value. Unfortunately, it's a leadership value of 8. So there's a good chance that he won't be able to move forward anyway. But here we go, see what we get. 8. Yeah, we've just done it. Okay, so I'm going to move him forward a further 6 inches. Right then, so in the last game that I played, I basically right from the beginning started to pull the French Foreign Legion back, but having observed how effective firing is, I'm going to give them at least 1 turn where they stand their ground and fire at the incoming Tuareg. And if they are regular infantry, which means they are allowed to fire for free. They don't need to be activated, so I don't need to roll against their leadership values to see if they can fire. They are obliged to fire at an enemy that can reach them in the next turn, so that is applicable in this situation. To these two units here have a target they're obliged to fire at. But I'm going to start with this unit at the end here, which is 18 inches away from this unit of Tuareg cavalry here. Show you how the firing works on that. So 18 inches is, they're armed with modern rifles. 18 inches is long range. So you roll 1 dice per figure in the unit, so there are 12 figures in the unit, and regular infantry have a firing value of 5+, which means they have to get 5s or above to hit. So take away all the misses, and they have got 5 hits. Now at short range that would be 5 casualties removed, but because it's long range, it takes 2 hits to cause a casualty. So, and you round down, so that means I've caused 2 casualties on the Tuareg, and on a roll of a double 1, one of those casualties is the leader. Oh gosh, double 1, that is remarkable. Okay, so the leader is dead, and 1 other casualty. So we just remove those for the moment. Now that means that the unit's leadership value, which was 6+ in her case, now goes up to 8, and they have to take a pin test. So for a pin test you roll 2 dice. So they've rolled 8, and you deduct the number of casualties, so that goes down to 6, and then you add any discipline value, but they have a 0 discipline value. But that does mean that they are down to 6, and where they would have passed the test, had the leader been alive, they now fail it because they have lost their leader and their leadership value's gone up to 8, which means that that unit is pinned, and we'll have to rally that pin off in the next turn. Okay, so French Foreign Legion off to a good start there. A couple of things to note is the unit that fired is led by the idiot. Now, it was a free action, so he didn't have to roll. If he'd had to roll for an action that wasn't free, then on a roll of 1 on a d6, the enemy could have chosen his action for him, but that didn't apply as it was a free action. So now we're on to these other 2 units, and they are both just within 12 inches of this unit of cavalry here. You measure from the nearest figure to nearest figure, but that does mean that the range is often more, but you're taking the closest distance between figures in the 2 units. So because it's just below 12 inches, that cavalry unit could, if it chose, reach either of those 2 French Foreign Legion units, so they're both obliged to fire at that cavalry unit. Oh, I'm just going to look something up in the rules as well, because I think I'm wondering if that pinned unit, I don't think they're obliged to withdraw, but they may be. I just want to check that in the rules. Yeah, no, they're all right. It's if you fail a rally test that you have to withdraw half a move. Okay, so let's do some more firing then. So I'm going to start with the centre company. So same process, 12 dice. It's now short range, so every hit counts as a hit rather than every 2 hits. So 5+ we're looking for. You can see how, as I said, firing is really deadly. So that is 4 casualties. And again, on a double 1. Oh, nearly. Okay, so nearly the leader gone again. So 4 of the 8 figures are gone already. And then the other French Foreign Legion unit is also obliged to fire at that cavalry unit. I'm looking for 5s or above. So that unit is completely wiped out. So 5 hits there. So a unit completely off the table. Now if a unit is wiped out like that, any unit within 12 inches has to take a pin test. So let's measure that. Alright, so I'll just show you the units affected. Okay, so basically 3 units have to roll a pin test now. This unit here, this unit of cavalry here, and that unit of infantry there. So we'll start with that unit of infantry. So they have a leadership value of 6. So 0 casualties, so if they roll 6 or above, because they've got a discipline of 0, so they just need to roll 6 or above to avoid becoming pinned. 6, they just about do it. The second unit of infantry also have a 6. No, I got that wrong. They're 8+. Yeah, they're 8+, which means they are pinned. So the second unit of infantry have 6+, and they get 5, so they are pinned. And the cavalry, 7+ they need. Yeah, so they're all right. But another 2 units are pinned. Right then, so we've got a pin on this unit here, that unit there, and that unit there, and that is the end of the first turn, and the French didn't take any casualties in that turn, so that is the first of 5 turns that they would need where they don't take any casualties in order for the game to end, and they have to be consecutive turns as well, so that is 1. Right, now we're on to turn 2, and make my mind up about what we want to happen. Okay, well, I'm going to do the rallying at the end. Any pinned unit gets a free rally activation, but then they can't do anything else, so I'll leave the pins on the pinned units for the moment and deal with the other 2 units that can do something. So that unit there, led by the chap firing his obsolete rifle, he is outside of the obsolete rifle's long range, which is 18 inches. So he is going to attempt at the double, just move as far as he can. So he's got a leadership value of 5+. And he gets an 8, so he can move at the double, so that is 6 inches plus the d6. So he's allowed to move forward 7 inches. Right, now this unit here are at the kind of closest distance between the figures are 13 inches away from that unit there. And they are allowed, irregular cavalry are allowed to make contact and attack using an at the double activation. So I'm going to try and attempt to get them to move at the double and attack that unit, and they have a leadership value of 7+. So on a 7+, they will be able to make contact 6, so they fail, and that means that's the end of their activation. But unlike Lion Rampant, another set of rules by Daniel Mercy, it doesn't end the side's turn, so I can go on and attempt to rally those 3 pins, but this is not turning out well for the Tuareg in this game. Okay, so let's show you the, I'll just show you the dice rolls for the pins. So basically what I'm doing is rallying rather than pin testing, and what you do with this is you can have more than one pin marker on a unit, so you subtract the number of pins, so it's similar to subtracting the number of casualties. So each unit has got 1 pin, so it should be fairly easy to rally off. So we'll start with the cavalry unit, which is now leaderless, so I need to get 9+ effectively. Let's see what we get. No, so they fail to rally. They have rolled 5, and if you fail but the final total is above 2, it remains pinned, but it must also retreat half a move, which is 6 inches in the case of cavalry, so I'm just going to move them back. Okay, next I'm going to roll to try and rally off the pin on the first of the infantry units. Now they rolled badly at the beginning of the game, so they've got a leadership value of 8+ as well, so again I need to roll 9 or above. Roll 10, yeah, that's brilliant, so I can take the pin off of them. And then the second infantry unit, they have a leadership value of 6+, so they got 1 pin, so I need to roll 7 or above. 7 just on it, so they get rid of their pins as well. Right, so I'll just show you the situation with the Tuareg before I go on to the French turn. Okay, so this cavalry unit failed to move. They rallied off their pin, but also didn't move as a consequence. Same with them, they haven't moved. Oh, you know what? He does get... yeah, I think that would be a bit cheesy if I did that, but he does get a free activation, doesn't he? But I don't think... I think with rallying, all you can do is take off a pin if you are pinned, so I'm not going to play that he can have a free move. They move forward 7 inches, I believe it was, and these guys failed their rally test, so they've retained their pin and also fell back half a move, 6 inches, so they're actually going backwards. So as I say, in the previous game I did start to pull these French Foreign Legion back straight away, but it does show that standing their ground and firing at the enemy, firing is so effective that this is probably a better strategy. I'm not playing in this scenario. You have the option of giving them limited ammunition, but I'm not playing that as I'm learning the rules. So they've got unlimited ammunition. So we'll go on to their choice of activations for the next turn. Right, so it's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it? As they're doing so well, they're going to stand and all the 3 units are going to stay and fire at the enemy again, which is free activation. They don't need to roll. So this unit here are just outside of short range on this unit of cavalry. So they are going to fire at those cavalry as they could reach them with at the double, I suppose. So 12 figures needing 5 or 6 to hit. Oh, that was a bit jammy, but I did roll the dice at the end and it hit that one and moved it to a 5. I didn't intend to do that, but I'm going to leave it as a 5. So another pretty devastating, 4 hits, so that goes down to 2 hits because it's at long range, and on a double one the leader is killed. No, so just take 2 figures off of there. Okay, the Tuareg have to take a pin test for those 2 casualties, so they roll 8 and you subtract 2 for the 2 casualties, takes them down to 6. And they have a leadership value of 7, so they've failed, which means that they are pinned. Right, now we go on to the other 2. So that distant unit there at the very end, firing at that further infantry unit there. So again, 12 dice, needing 5s. One, two, three, four, 5 hits, goes down to 2 hits because it's at long range. A double one. No, double one would have meant the leader was killed. So 2 casualties come off of there. And they require a pin test. They have a leadership value of 5. So they've passed, because that's 11 minus 2 is 9, so that's well above 5. Right, and then the other second unit in the middle there is going to fire at that unit closest to the camera there. So again, 12 dice. One, two, three, four, five. So again, 2 casualties. Double one and the leader is killed. No. And pin test. They have a leadership of, I think it was 8, wasn't it? It wasn't very good, yeah. Double one, so they are pinned as well. Okay, that's the end of turn 2, so 2 turns where the French haven't received any casualties, and the Tuareg have 3 units that are pinned, so they need to rally, so I'll do that at the end. But they have 2 units that can activate, this being one of them, and they are within long range. They have a range of 18 inches with their obsolete rifles at that unit there, so I think I'm going to roll some dice and see if they can hit anything off of the French and inflict some casualties. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 figures. And they also have, I believe, a firing value of 5. Yeah, they also have a firing value of 5. Their disadvantage comes with their obsolete rifles have a shorter range. Okay, so I need 10 dice, 5s or above. Tuareg are really, really unlucky in this game. Show you the dice roll. They managed to get 1 hit, so that's ineffective at long range because they need 2 hits to cause 1 casualty. Right, and then the only other unit that can do anything is those people there, and they are outside of 18 inches range, so they need to move forward more, so I'm going to get them to try and move at the double. They have a leadership value of 6+. Yeah, so they pass, and they will move 6 inches plus a d6, so they can move forward 9 inches. Okay, so there they are, moved forward, so they are now just within 12 inches of that unit there, so another at the double. Oh, except that being infantry, they can't attack at the double. They need to be within 6 inches. So anyway, we'll get on to the 3 units that need to rally off their pins. Starting with the leaderless cavalry, so they need to roll leadership value of 8 plus 1 pin means they need to roll 9 or above. No, they fail, so that means that they move back another 6 inches. Okay, so I've moved them back off camera, but they're now near the table edge, so 1 more failed rally and they will actually leave the table. And that all came from having their leader shot in the very first turn of the game. Okay, so now we're on to the other 2 infantry groups. So the first one has an 8 leadership value as well, so 9+ to pass. No, so they're going to move back 3 inches in their case. And the second cavalry unit has a leadership value of 7, so they've got 1 pin, so they need 8 or above. 4, no, so they're going to move back 6 inches as well. Okay, so it's now going to be the French part of the turn, but just to show you, 1 Tuareg cavalry unit very close to the table edge. Very little progress from the infantry here. Another pinned unit there. Another unit there, and these fell back as well. So obviously I'm going to carry on with the same strategy and get all these 3 units to fire again. Right then, so this unit here is just, the closest figures are just within 12 inches of that unit there. So this unit can fire at short range, that unit is at long range against them, and that unit at long range against them. So we'll start up the top with that unit at long range against them. So I've got 12 dice needing 5s or above. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is 3 casualties this time. And double 1 will be the leader. No, again, very close. So 3 casualties off the first group. And they will need to take a pin test. So they have a leadership value of 5. So they roll 7 minus 3 is 4. So they fail and they get a pin. Okay, and then the group in the middle firing. Long range again. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2 casualties. Not the leader. Pin test. They've got leadership value of 8. Failed that miserably, so they get a second pin. And then the final interchange, this one you can just see on the edge of the camera here. So these are at short range, so every hit counts as a hit. Right, so a little bit more luck there. That was just 1 hit. And is it the leader? No, but again, so close. Right, so they have to take a pin test as well. I'll just take 1 off of them. And they have a leadership value of 6. So 7 minus 1 is 6, so they just scrape their pin test there. They're all right. Right, so start of the next turn then. So the Tuareg go first. They have 1 unit that isn't pinned that can do something, which is this unit here. So they are going to attempt to fire at the French unit there, but they, unlike the French, which have modern rifles, they have obsolete rifles, so that means they are at long range because it's over 9 inches away. So they are down to 11 figures. Every 2 hits of 5 or above causes a casualty on the French, which hopefully they'll do. Here we go. Yeah, they have managed to get a few hits there now. So that breaks the consecutive runs of no casualties on the French. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. That goes down to 2 casualties off the French and a double 1. No, so it's not the leader. So we'll just take 2 casualties off of them. And they need to take a pin test now. And this is the guy who is the bag of nerves. So If they do get a pin, that means that the bag of nerves guy might run away. But they've got very good leadership value of 5, so this should be alright. Let's see. So 9 down to 7, so they're passed, so they don't need to test to see if the NCO runs away, and they don't get a pin. Well, the significant thing about that is that it's interrupted this flow of consecutive turns where the French don't suffer any casualties, so they've lost 2 figures now. So now all I've got to do is try and rally off the pins for the various units. So I'll show you the dice rolls for that. So I'm going to start with the cavalry unit that's near the edge of the table. They have 1 pin and a leadership, well, they haven't got a leader, so they've got leadership value of 8. So they fail, which means they retreat another 6 inches, so they come off the table and are gone. Right, next I'm going to try and rally off the pin on the irregular infantry who've got a leadership value of 5, so they have 1 pin, so I need 6 or above. Yep, so their pin can come off. And then I'm going to do the leader who's got the leadership value of 8, and he has 2 pins, so he needs 10 or above. I've done it, yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that comes off. Well, they both come off. This is a little bit better for the Tuareg now. And then the final, the cavalry unit, which has 1 pin and a leadership value of 7, so they need 8 or above. No, they fail, so they're going to move back another 6 inches. Okay, well, in my rehearsal game the French lost miserably, but it looks like they're going to win this game. Basically the Tuareg are down to 3 irregular infantry units that are beginning to get diminished by French fire, and 1 irregular cavalry unit which is slowly pulling off the table. So now the French are going to repeat the same tactic again and fire. So they're short range here and long range in the middle and at the far end of the table there. So we'll start at the far end of the table with 12 dice, needing 5s or above. Three hits, so that's long range, so that goes down to 1 hit, and it's not the leader, so that unit loses 1 casualty, and we need to roll a pin test. 5 plus leadership value. So 6 minus 1 is 5, so they are okay. So they might be able to do something in the next turn. Right, then another round of firing from the middle unit of French. Again at long range. Two hits this time, so 4 hits down to 2. Because it's long range. Double 1! So it's the leader again, he's killed. That is incredible. Really bad luck for the Tuareg. And he was the leader that had the free action. Destined for greatness. Dead, so their leadership goes up to 8 as well now. Right, so they have to roll for a pin, and their leadership value is now 8. Oh, it was 8 before, wasn't it? Because he hadn't a very good. Right, so they fail that and become pinned. Okay, and then the final unit firing is down to 10 figures now, so 10 dice, but it is short range, so every hit of 5 or above counts as one casualty. 2 hits. Is it the leader? No. So 2 casualties. And a pin test. And he has a leadership value of 6, so he needs 8 or above. No, so they are pinned as well. Okay, start of another turn then, and again all but one of the Tuareg units are pinned. The only one that isn't is this one here. It's left with 6 figures, and they are going to attempt to fire with their obsolete rifles, which are in long range of that French Foreign Legion unit at the end there. So hope that they get something. Six figures, needing 5s or above. Yeah, they've got 2 5s, which equates to 1 casualty off of the French Foreign Legion. Is it the leader? No, so they lose 1 casualty. And they have to take a pin test. This guy is the idiot, so he doesn't need to worry at this stage about his trait. So he has got a leadership value of 7. He rolls 10, so he needed 8, so he's fine. Right, so now all I can do is attempt to rally the other 3 units. So the first one who just had their leader killed, then I got a leadership value of 8, and they've got 1 pin. So they roll 8, but they needed 9 because they got 1 pin, so they moved back 3 inches. Okay, and then the second group of irregular infantry, which has a leadership value of 6, so they've got 1 pin, so they need 7 or more. 6 I get, so again they move back 3 inches. And then the last surviving unit of irregular cavalry, I've got leadership value of 7 and 1 pin, so they need 8 or more. And they get 6, so they're cavalry, so they move back 6 inches. Right now, the French have pretty well stalled the attack from the Tuareg, so one of the objectives of the game is to occupy that building. So I think at this point I'm going to start to order them to move back. And we're going to start with the unit at the far end there, which is the Idiot's unit. And he needs to roll on a dice because to move, or I'm going to try and move him at the double. So on a dice roll of a d6, no, the enemy would have got to order him, as they wished. So now he needs to get 7 or above, and he does. So his unit can move back at the double. So it's d6 plus 3 inches. And the second unit have a leadership value of 6, so I'm going to order them to move back at the double as well. And they get 8, so they can move back as well, and that will be 6 inches plus 2, so they can move back 8 inches. And the third unit now, same again, they've got leadership value of 5, so they should get away with this. 4, so they fail, so they stay where they are. That's the other dice there. Right, so that is the end of that turn. Right, so you can see 2 of the units falling back now towards the building area, and the Tuaregs start by activating first, but the only unpinned unit is that one there. So I'm going to order them to move forward at the double. They're meant to keep the pressure on, so they have a leadership value of 5. Is it? Yeah, 5. Yeah, they pass easily, so they can move forward d6 plus, in the tray, 4, so 10 inches. Right, and then the other 3 units try and rally, so the leaderless irregular infantry first, so they've got 1 pin, so they need 9 or above. No, they fail, so they'll move back another 3 inches. And then the second lot of irregular infantry, they've got a leadership value of 6 and 1 pin, so they need 7 or above. No, they failed. Now, let me just look this up in the rules. Yeah, unfortunately for them, they've rolled 2, they've got 1 pin, which takes them down to 1, and when you do a rally test, if you fail and the final total is 2 or less, the unit immediately routs and is removed from the game. So that whole unit, which was the largest group of figures the Tuareg had left, is coming off the table. And yeah, it's within 12 inches of the cavalry and of the other set of infantry. So we need to do some pin tests as well. Okay, we'll start with the infantry. So they haven't had any casualties, so they need 8 or more. No, so they get another pin. Now I've got 2 pins, and then the cavalry, which are still to do a rally test on, they have a leadership of 7, and they fell, so they've now got 2 pins. And I will now do the rally test for that cavalry unit. So they've got leadership value of 7 and they've got 2 pins, and they're right by the edge of the table, so they need 9 or above to avoid coming off the table themselves, and they fail. Right, so I'm going to take them off the table and then think about whether it's worth the Tuareg persevering with this. Well, it's looking pretty hopeless for the Tuareg, I must admit, but I think I'm going to continue with the game a little bit longer, in the hope of being able to show you some of how the other mechanisms work. But from the point of view of spectator interest, it's been a little bit dull, I'm afraid, as the Tuareg have just sort of run into the French guns and been eliminated. They've got 1 unit there left, leaderless, needing to take rally tests, which they keep failing, and a second unit there behind the palm tree, which is hardly intact. It's down to less than half strength, but still able to move forward. And then the 3 French units here, slowly sort of pulling back towards the building now. So I'm going to carry on with this French part of the turn now, and that unit there is going to roll to see if it can move back at the double. So on a roll of 1 on a d6, the Tuareg will be able to choose, because it's controlled by the idiot. No, so they need to get 7 or more. And they do, they get a 9, so they can move back at the double, meaning they move d6 plus 6, so they're going to move back 12 inches. Okay, the middle French Foreign Legion unit needs 6 plus to move back at the double. They get 8, yeah, so they can move d6 plus 5, so they're moving back 11 inches. And the third unit, 5 plus to move back at the double. Yeah, they get 7, so d6 plus 5, they can move back 11 inches. Next turn then, we'll press on regardless. That's the only unit of Tuareg that can activate this turn. There only being 1 of 2 left on the table, so they're going to try and move forward at the double. Leadership value of 5. Means let's do it in the it's not looking good. 3, they fail. And then there's a leaderless group relentlessly moving off the table now, so they need to rally. 8 plus, and they've got 2 pins, so they need 10 plus. And they fail, so they go back another 3 inches. Okay, over to the French Foreign Legion, and the unit in the distance there is going to try and activate to move back at the double, but it is led by the idiot, so on a 1. Yes, a 1. Tuareg have a tiny bit of luck. So the Tuareg are going to decide what activation that unit's going to try and perform, so they're going to try and move them forward rather than back at the double. So 7 plus. No, they fail anyway, so they rolled a 4, so they're just going to stay where they are. And then the unit in the centre are going to move back at the double, and they have a leadership value of 6, and they fail. And then the third unit are going to move back. They don't need to order at the double because they're close to an obstacle. So if you're crossing an obstacle, you move up to it, and then the next turn you can move over it without any movement penalty. So they have a 5 plus leadership value, and they get 5, so they've just done it. So they're going to move back to the where are they? There they are. They move back up against the wall, so at least you got to see another rule mechanism in operation, even if the game itself has been a little bit one-sided. Can't do anything about it, that's what happens in some games. But that is another turn where the French haven't received any casualties, so need to get up to 5 consecutive turns before the game ends that way. Okay, back to the Tuareg turn, and that unit again is the only one that can activate, and they're just outside a long range of rifle fire, so they need to move forward at the double. Leadership value, keep forgetting, 5 plus. Yeah, get 6, so they move forward d6 plus 4, 10 inches. And then the leaderless unit of Tuareg, getting very close to the table edge now. There another 2, well, in 2 moves they'll be off the table, but let's try and rally them. So they've got 2 pins, leadership value of 8 because they are leaderless. So they roll 8, which goes down to 6, so they move back another 3 inches. Okay, French turn now, and the sensible thing to do, rather than try and activate the idiot's unit is to use the free activation to fire onto those Tuareg who are now within short range of them. So 11 figures needing 5s or above to hit. Three hits. Not the leader, but they do need to roll 4 pins. Leadership value of 5. So 6 minus 3 is 3, so they get a pin. Right, I think I'm going to be merciless, and that unit there aren't going to attempt to fall back any further. They've got 12 figures, and they're also going to fire onto that last remaining group of 3 there. It will be long range though. So every 2 hits counts as 1 casualty, 5s or above. One, 2 casualties. Yeah, I think enough is enough, really, isn't it? I wanted the game to continue a bit longer to just to show you some of the game mechanisms, but that group there is now down to 1 figure, and will no doubt, let's see if it was the leader or not. I got killed? No. So it's just down to the leader on his own, and the Tuareg have well and truly lost this game. So just collect my thoughts on this and sum up the game. Right, there we go then. So bit of a dull game to watch because it was so one-sided, but I hope that doesn't detract from the fact that I think the rules are very good. You know, it happens in rules sometimes. I mean, AK-47 is another classic one where sometimes you can have a really exciting balanced game, and other times it's a complete whitewash, and it looks like that might be possible also with the men who would be kings. I really like the aspect of rolling for the leader's characters at the beginning of the game, but again, unlucky dice rolls, and you can end up with each unit controlled by leaders who are actually hampering the cause rather than helping it. And you know, I think firepower is very significant in this game. That the fact that the French Foreign Legion had a slightly longer range just allowed them to mow the Tuareg down. You know, I mean, in the rehearsal that I did, played a practice game to get my head around the rules, and I played it so that the French started to kind of draw back towards the building right from the start, and that allowed the Tuareg cavalry you know, to move forward at speed and just to engage the French in melee. And you know, it was a very one-sided game as well, but the Tuareg overwhelmingly won that game. I won't even bother about totting up points, because you get points for whether you're occupying the building or not and how many units you've eliminated, because the French Foreign Legion clearly won this game. And there were some significantly unlucky dice rolls, including 2 leaders being killed, and there was another one. Oh yeah, and the quite a sizable unit of irregular infantry routing off the table simply because they rolled a double 1 on a rally test. That was unlucky as well. So the Tuareg had all the bad luck, and I don't think the French even got pinned at all during that. They had a better discipline anyway, even if they were to have, I think they took 1 pin test that they passed, but the French got +1 on in the pin test for their discipline. So anyway, yeah, I'm certainly going to play, more games of the Men Who Would Be Kings, and maybe try it out on some other periods. I've got all my Zulu and my Anglo-Zulu War figures that are multi-base, but I'm sure, it's a game where you could put down casualty markers, little mini dice, play it that way, and also my 15mm Plains Wars figures. There are army lists in the rules for those, so could even use it for a game using my US cavalry and Plains Indians. But anyway, I'll stop waffling. I hope you got something out of that, even if it wasn't a terribly scintillating and exciting game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.